My name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is my self-esteem. You may know the phenomenal hilarity that is Cat Williams. If you haven't seen his stand-up, comedy isn't for everybody because a lot of humans today have toxic femininity, and they are so committed to their sensitivity that they're causing themselves pain. So they forget when they're at a comedy show, they're watching a comedian, and that one of the styles of comedy is to make fun of everybody, and then they take it personally, and it never was personal. They're just the type of comedian that instead of being self-deprecating or observational, makes fun of everybody. We can't expect Daniel Tosh from Tosh.0 to be sensitive to your feelings. So comedy's not for everybody because some people prefer, and you're welcome to spend an entire lifetime in toxic femininity or being overly sensitive and not having good boundaries and not having that activated masculine principle that, has where we bring the Ida and the Pingala, which we all have in our body, into balance and express both in the life. But if it is for you, I highly recommend any of Cat Williams' stand-up because he really has a positive message where he can talk about the value of gratitude, be grateful for your life. He says a lot of things that I think are important on a consciousness level. And one of the bits that he does is about self-esteem. And he says it's called self-esteem. And I love this. This is why I want to talk about my self-esteem, because it's mine. It belongs to me. And if I want to have esteem, it is the self, myself, that is going to give me that esteem. Now, a lot of times we place self-esteem in another person's hands. I historically have done this. I grew up kind of listening to punk and all this different stuff. And I thought, I don't care, because I had had a lot of hardship and whatever, I don't care. But I actually deeply cared. I was deeply sensitive to being a people pleaser. It kind of runs in my family a little bit. But I wanted to be a people pleaser, even though I thought I was so hardcore. And I've seen that even in recent times flush up as I age more and more, and as I step more into my self-esteem. You can't please all the people all the time. Some people are just deeply negative. They're deeply dark, and they choose to complain. They are a complain brain, and that's what they're going to do with their brain. Let me just complain. I call it flinging poo. I'm not going to stand in a room where you're flinging poo. And I can listen to your complaints. I can listen to your challenges. But if it's the only thing you have to offer, I'm not staying on a ship that's wrecking. I got stuff to do. I'm going to swim to the shore, So you ultimately are not in charge of how others respond to life. And you're not in charge of whether you please others, no matter how you twist yourself up. So you might as well be yourself. You might as well be your authentic self. So there are a couple of ways that we don't take responsibility on finding. I haven't taken responsibility on finding as a human, pardon my allergies cough, for my self-esteem. And one of the ways is by placing it in other people's hands, and we'll talk about that in a minute. One of the other ways that this occurs is being a people pleaser. So I upset someone, or they don't like me, or they don't want to be my friend or my lover, and I have placed all of my value in their estimation of me. And I'm somebody who's faced a considerable amount of, I've had a lot of users that have used my energy for what they sought, whatever that may be. And I've had in the past 5 years, a lot of rejection. And many of the people that's occurred with, it's occurred because they're not willing to receive love. They're actually looking for somebody to fight with. And I'm not willing to fight. And I will tell people, I'm not willing to fight. Did you need me to go home if you want to fight? And then they'll want to imprison me. I'm like, I'm not willing to be imprisoned either. Interesting. And so many people are so committed to a toxic state, they don't want to, they're not actually looking for someone that will devotedly love them. And there are people that are just not attracted to me, or I'm not their speed, or they don't like my short hair, or they don't like how frank and direct I am, or they don't like whatever it is. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like some of me. You don't have to like all of me. And many will not. And what a grace. I'm really grateful to be so distinct and unique that I'm not everybody's flavor. Fun. That means I'm a unique flavor on the menu. You're welcome. But there's a quality where we want so much to please others that we hide parts of ourselves. And I had this lesson from my mother. She, we were raised in the Bible Belt in Texas, and she was raised Baptist. And when she was 13, she asked the minister, what happens to people that never learn of Jesus? And he said, oh, they go to hell. And then she was like, I'm not Baptist. Definitely not Baptist. That's not true. That's not accurate. You just lied to me. She's really good at, my mom was always really good at finding the truth. And since that moment, she kind of studied metaphysics. And as a metaphysician, I myself studied a lot of metaphysical things. She and I both did astrology. She started teaching me astrology at the age of 13. And she would do charts for people, but she would tell me, Heather, when you go to a new job, when you go to new things, if you want to do people's astrology charts, which she and I both did for free all the time, just out of curiosity of humanity, she would say, just remember you're in the Bible Belt. Maybe get to know the person a little bit so that people wouldn't cast judgment on me or become difficult or assume that I'm going to hell or that I'm the devil or whatever it is that people assume when they talk about topics that are not understood. And she did it because she wanted to protect me. Something about that lesson caused me, as I aged more and more, to throw on the floor the idea of needing to fit someone else's model of what it means to be Heather Feather. I stopped, and I've received this beautiful feedback, and it's such a high compliment to me, and lovely souls that I dearly adore have told me many times throughout my life that they learned through me how to just be their fantastic, strange self, how to be weird, how to, they were weird, but there's a part of us that can sometimes suppress that so that we fit in societally, so that we fit into the job, so that we fit into the relationship or the friendship. And the older I get, the more authentically I am me. So the first piece of your self-esteem or my self-esteem is making sure, am I being me? How can I have esteem and be grateful for who I be if I'm not even being who I am, if I'm modifying the character? I always say, I'm not a video game character. Character's chosen. Let me make sure I'm expressing the character I am. If you don't like that character, you're always welcome to get away from me. You're always welcome to spend less time with me. I have a ton of books to read, a ton of visions to create, paintings to paint. I have plenty to fill my time with. I'm not necessarily looking for more to fill it with. So if this character doesn't work for you, by all means, lose my number, get away from me. That's okay. I'm not for everybody. And what a grace. I'm glad to be strange. The other side of that coin is this quality of placing your esteem in someone else's hands. Only will you be proud of yourself if your parents are proud. I don't really like the word pride, because what are you proud of? Did you make atoms? What are we doing? And the atoms are what they are. You didn't make it. I don't know. There's like there's ego in that word that's a little tricky for me. But as a general rule, like, what is it that causes us to assume that someone else holds the key to our value? And I've done this for a long time, and I'm wanting to talk to you about it and own it. And I realized I had a lot of rejection in the past 5 years. Grateful for it, because that which is for me will choose me, and I seek that which is seeking me. But with that, excuse me, initially, it felt really painful. There was a gentleman in California that it took me a long time to figure out what was going on because I had stepped on the shamanic path, but I adored him. And the feeling was not mutual. And I just had a similar situation where there's somebody that I dearly adore, and that feeling is not mutual, not in that way. And when I realized that this week, I very quickly was like, okay, if I'm not for you in that way, thank you. Thank you for letting me know so that I don't have my attention where it doesn't belong. But historically, it would hurt. It would be like, why am I so unlovable? Why? When this happened to me in California, it was very painful. Why is it so easy when I'm so loving and so kind and so devoted and so sincere and so loyal and, spiritual and steady and doing the work and committed? And why is it that it's so easy to just go, no, thanks, that's not for me? And there are lots of reasons. Some two-leggeds have decided attraction can only happen with long hair. It can only happen with red hair. It can only happen with big boobs. It needs to happen with a small waist. It needs to be this height. It needs to be that height. It needs to be this meek. It needs to be that loud. We have decided, many of us, that attraction only happens in a tiny little box. I definitely don't have that. I've talked openly about it. I've been attracted to so many different body types, so many different colors, different genders, different expressions of life, because I got a lot of Scorpio, and sexual pleasure is easy to find if you look for it. And so it's not about, for me, what it looks like. It is about what it is. And so even things I've been attracted to, ooh, I'm really attracted to this person because I can be attracted to such diversity. I can find ultimately I'm not attracted because when I learn really what that person is, I go, oh, that's very unattractive. You're like a walking prison. Oh, you're like a walking prison guard. You know, oh, you're like a walking control freak. I don't like, I love freedom. I'm not here to control you. I'm not looking to control you, and I'm not looking for you to control me. To each their own. My attractions aren't the correct attractions, but one of the reasons you can be quote unquote rejected, and also that's a frame. You don't have to frame it as people rejecting you. You can if you can remain empowered, but you can also just be like, ooh, I'm such a unique bird. I am such a unique and rare bird. I'm not for everybody. And what a grace. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that that person doesn't get it. Another feather in my uniqueness cap. You know, it doesn't have, you don't have to frame it as a rejection. You can frame it as a not sameness. Ooh, I'm so glad that there's something not same. What happened for me recently is instead of framing anyone else, letting them hold my self-esteem, they rejected me. They don't love me. I'm unlovable. As if my lovability, not only as if my lovability rests in their hands, but the lovability of me doesn't just rest in my hands, it rests in my divine hands. My divine light, my divine spark, my divine love, my unconditional love, my capacity to serve, my capacity to give. There is just a long, long list in me, and my beloved, whoever's watching this video, there's a long, long list in you. And what is lovable? What is lovable? What is esteem worthy in you? And one step is to authentically be you. The second step is to ensure that your self-esteem is something you are being a steward of, that you're not handing over the keys to your kingdom and letting someone else come sit in your temple chair and go, I don't like what I see in here. You know, like, get out of my castle, get out of my temple chair. This temple chair is for me, and I love what I see in here. And do I have work to do? We all do. How do you know when you're done with the work? You exit the flesh costume. Just ask Richard Bach. So if you're in a flesh costume, you still have work to do. We all do. Doesn't mean you're not lovable. Doesn't mean you're not worthy of love. Doesn't mean you're not neat and interesting and a total grace and a gift in many, many, many ways. So the second aspect, aside from learning who your authentic self is and allowing that full expression, is never handing your self-esteem to someone else for them to dictate your worth or what's admirable about you. A third step, I would say, in honoring my self-esteem and you honoring your self-esteem is being honest with yourself a bit about all the graces and the gifts that you are. The more I find those in the world that are not drawn to or attracted to me, the more I marinate on who is it that I be. And when I honestly marinate on who I am a wacky broad, I'm goofy, I'm silly, I'm funny, I'm intelligent, I'm fun, I'm serious, studious, you know, I am so many things. I'm kind. Most importantly, I'm kind. I'm generous of spirit. I'm loving. I'm filled to the brim with love. I have so much love to give. Even the Akashic Records is like, when you love people, they don't even know what to do. You have so much love in your basket. They're like, I don't even know where to store all this, you know? And part of having self-esteem is looking at your gifts, not looking at just your challenges. What are your gifts? What are your graces? What is so beautiful about you being you? Make sure you add that to the list of your self-esteem. You can always subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine on YouTube, like and comment there. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Amun.